I never thought I'd be the guy sitting here, writing out some kind of what the hell just happened story, but here I am. My name's Mike, and I've been with my wife, Laura, for about 8 years now. We got together young, had a pretty good run for a while, or so I thought. Honestly, I always felt like we were solid. Sure, we had our fights, but nothing out of the ordinary. We were planning to buy a house, maybe start a family soon. Things seemed normal, until they weren't. The trouble started around 6 months ago, right after we moved into that new property out in the countryside. It's a big old place, kind of a fixer-upper, but we loved the land and the privacy. Laura was excited about it. She kept saying it was our forever home. But I started noticing little things. She was distant at times, snapping at me over small stuff, and sometimes she'd just disappear for hours without explanation. I'd call her and she'd brush it off, saying she was busy at work or had to run errands. I kind of let it slide at first. I figured maybe she was stressed with the move or her job. Then came the weirdest part. I noticed her hiding her phone more. She'd lock it whenever I got close, which was unlike her. She also started taking the phone with her into the bathroom, which she never used to do. I didn't want to be that guy who's constantly checking, but I couldn't help feeling like something was off. One night, I saw a message pop up on her screen, something about a discovery tour at the site where she was working on some archaeological dig. I didn't think much of it initially, but then I remembered how she'd been acting strangely during those times, extra secretive, avoiding my questions, and always saying she was working late. What really set off alarm bells was when I found out she'd been going out to the site almost daily, sometimes staying late after her shifts. I knew she was into archaeology. She'd always been obsessed with history magazines and documentaries, but this was different. I decided to drive by the property one afternoon just to see what was going on. I didn't expect much, maybe just to catch her leaving or something. What I saw stopped me cold. There was a research tent set up on our land, and inside I spotted her. She was in there with some guy. Not just any guy, an archaeologist, tall, rugged, with the kind of face that says, "I've uncovered secrets of the past." His name's Dr. Ethan Carter, or so I later learned. They were laughing, close enough that it looked like they were sharing some private joke. I could see her leaning into him, her hand resting on his arm. My stomach clenched. I watched for a few seconds, trying to process what I was seeing. It was obvious. They weren't just working together, they were messing around. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut, but I kept my cool. I snapped a quick photo on my phone, something I thought I'd never do in my life, and drove away without her noticing. I didn't want to jump to conclusions right then, but the evidence was pretty clear. She lied about working late, she avoided me when I asked questions, and there she was, clearly with him in my own backyard, acting like they didn't give a damn about who saw. I couldn't believe it. My wife, the woman I trusted, was cheating on me with some archaeologist she met on a damn excavation. That night I couldn't sleep. My mind kept circling back to what I saw. I was furious, more hurt than anything else. How could she do this to me? After everything we'd been through, after all the plans we made, it felt like my world was crumbling. I kept asking myself if I'd missed signs, if I'd been blind or just too stupid to see it coming. The worst part was feeling so betrayed by someone I loved and trusted implicitly. I thought I knew her. I thought I knew us. Turns out I didn't know a damn thing. The next day I couldn't concentrate. My mind kept replaying the scene I saw, her leaning into him, their laughter, the way she touched him like he was the only thing that mattered. I felt sick. I kept wondering if I'd missed all the signs, if I'd been so busy working, trying to fix up the house, that I hadn't seen how cold she'd been getting. Or maybe I was just blind. Either way, I knew I had to confront her. I couldn't let this lie. That kind of betrayal eats at you until you're nothing but a hollow shell. That afternoon, I waited until she got home from her work, which I now knew was a complete lie. She walked in, all smiles and a little too chipper, like she'd just been on some kind of spa day. I wanted to call her out immediately, but I held back. Instead, I asked her how her day was, how the dig was going. She shrugged and gave me some rehearsed bullshit about progress and how she was making big discoveries, all while trying to avoid eye contact. I saw right through her. My gut told me she was lying again. I dropped the bomb then. I told her I knew about her and Ethan. Her face twisted into a mask of contempt, like I'd just insulted her. She scoffed, rolled her eyes, and spat. "Oh, please. You're just paranoid. You think I'd do that. You're making a huge deal out of nothing." That's typical Laura. Blame me, accuse me of being crazy, act like I'm the one who screwed up. But I wasn't having it. I pulled out my phone and showed her the pictures I'd taken. Her face drained of color, then immediately turned into something nasty. She started lying right then and there, claiming I was mistaken, that it was all innocent, that they were just friends. "He's just a colleague, Mike. You're overreacting," she snapped. But I could see through her bullshit. I knew what I saw, and I knew she was lying. I told her I wasn't stupid, that I saw her touching him, that I saw her with my own eyes. Her eyes flashed with anger, and she spat back. "You're losing your mind. You're jealous, that's all. Ethan's a professional, and I'm not some cheating little slut." That stung. She was trying to turn it around to make me doubt myself, but I knew the truth. The emotional impact hit me hard. I felt a mixture of anger, sadness, and total disbelief. How the hell did we get here? How did I go from imagining our future to confronting her about cheating with some guy I didn't even know existed 2 weeks ago? Honestly, I felt like I'd been hit by a freight train. My trust was shattered, and all I could think about was the betrayal. The woman I loved, the woman I married, was lying to my face and fucking another man right under my nose. I wanted to scream, cry, do something to make sense of the chaos inside me. Instead, I just stared at her, trying to process what was happening. She kept insisting she was innocent, that I was reading too much into things, that Ethan was just helping her with some research. She said she didn't mean for it to happen, and her voice was dripping with disdain. Like I was some naive fool for not realizing she'd been cheating on me all along. I felt my heart pounding so hard I thought it might burst. I wanted to believe her. I really did, but deep down, I knew the truth. The woman I married was a lie, and I had no idea who she was anymore. The pain was overwhelming, and I didn't know how to move forward from this. All I knew was that everything I thought was real was now just a fragile illusion that had shattered into a million pieces. The days that followed were a blur of confusion and anger. I couldn't focus at work, couldn't sleep at night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her with Ethan, her hand on his arm, her laugh echoing in the research tent, the way she looked at him like he was her savior from some boring, dull marriage. I kept asking myself how I missed all the signs, how I'd been so blind to her lies. It was like I'd been living in some kind of quiet nightmare, only now waking up to the truth that she'd been cheating on me for weeks, maybe longer. I decided I couldn't just sit around waiting for her to come home and lie some more. I needed a plan. I started digging into everything I could find about Ethan, about the dig, about the archaeological site. I wanted to understand how deep this thing went. I also started paying more attention to her phone, her emails, her social media, any sign that I could find that might tell me if she was hiding more. She was a master liar, that's for sure. She'd always been bitchy and manipulative when cornered, and now I saw that she was good at hiding her tracks. Still, every little thing I uncovered fueled my anger. One night, I found out she'd been sneaking away during the day, supposedly for research, but I'd seen her in the tent with Ethan. That's when I realized she wasn't just fooling around secretly. She was actively lying about her entire involvement in the project. It was more than just an affair. It was a total betrayal of everything we'd built. I felt like I was living someone else's nightmare. How could she stay so calm, so dismissive while I was falling apart inside? I couldn't take it anymore. I decided to confront her again. This time I planned to be more aggressive. I wanted the truth, no matter how ugly it was. I told her I knew everything, that I knew about Ethan, about the meetings, about the lies. When I brought it up, she snapped. Her bitchy attitude kicked in full force, and she started yelling that I was crazy, that I was paranoid, that I was accusing her of stuff she hadn't done. She lied so convincingly that I almost believed her, but I knew better. I told her she could keep lying, but I wasn't buying it anymore. The conversation devolved quickly into shouting. She called me insecure, controlling, jealous, classic Laura. She said I was suffocating her and that she needed freedom. I could see she was trying to spin it, trying to twist things around so I'd doubt myself. But I wasn't falling for her bullshit anymore. I told her I was done playing her game, done pretending I didn't see what she was doing. I told her I was going to find out the full truth one way or another. That was a turning point. I realized I couldn't keep pretending everything was okay while she was out there sneaking around, screwing some guy on our land. I needed to decide what I wanted. Was I going to let her keep lying and betray me further, or was it time to put my foot down? I knew I had to be prepared for whatever came next because her reaction was obvious. She was furious, defensive, and refusing to own up. I also knew this was just the beginning of a storm I wasn't ready for, but I couldn't keep living in fear or denial. I had to face her, face myself, and figure out what the hell I was going to do about the mess she'd made. After that explosive confrontation, the tension in the house got worse. Laura became even more bitchy and defensive, acting like I was the crazy one for suspecting her. She'd throw tantrums over the smallest things, calling me paranoid, accusing me of invading her privacy, saying I was ruining everything just because I'd caught her in a lie. It was like she was trying to gaslight me into doubting my own instincts, into questioning whether I'd really seen what I saw. But I wasn't about to let her do that. I knew what I saw and I knew what she was doing. I decided I needed to take a different approach. I started secretly recording her, making sure I had concrete proof of her lies and her meetings with Ethan. I set up some hidden cameras around the house. Nothing obvious, just little devices I knew she wouldn't notice. I wanted to catch her in the act, to get undeniable evidence. It felt dirty and manipulative, but I was desperate. This wasn't just about betrayal anymore. It was about saving whatever was left of my sanity. Meanwhile, I kept digging. I found out that Ethan wasn't just some random archaeologist. They'd been working closely for months, probably even before I discovered her affair. The more I learned, the angrier I got. It wasn't just a fling. It was a full-blown affair, orchestrated right under my nose during discovery tour and research meetings. The cameras I set up started catching her sneaking out early mornings and late nights, visiting the research tent, and without doubt having sex with Ethan. The footage was clear, her in her work clothes, then her with Ethan, both of them acting like they had no care in the world. Seeing those videos hit me like a punch to the stomach. It wasn't just the betrayal, though that alone was enough to shake me. It was the fact that she'd been lying so effortlessly, acting like everything was normal while she was screwing around behind my back. I watched her kiss him, heard her laugh at his stupid jokes, saw her touch him like he was her only reason for breath. That's when I knew I had to make a choice, what to do with this evidence. Part of me wanted to expose her to everyone, ruin her reputation, make her regret what she'd done. But I also knew that wasn't just about revenge. It was about finally ending the chaos she'd created. I sat there that night, staring at the footage on my laptop, my mind racing. I felt a mix of betrayal, heartbreak, and a strange sense of relief that I finally had proof. The woman I loved, or thought I loved, was gone. All that was left was a woman capable of lying, cheating, and sneaking around with some guy I didn't even know. I couldn't believe I'd been so blind, so stupid to think she was the woman I married. And yet, I knew I couldn't keep going like this, pretending everything was fine. I had to decide whether to confront her with everything or cut my losses and walk away. Deep down, I already knew what I wanted. I wanted her to see what she'd thrown away, to realize she couldn't keep manipulating me while she fucked around with Ethan. I wanted her to feel the pain she'd caused me, to understand what it was like to be betrayed so thoroughly. But I also knew I was at a crossroads. Whatever I chose, my life would never be the same again. The trust was gone, shattered into pieces, and I had no idea if I could ever put it back together. All I knew was that I had enough proof now, enough to make her finally own up or to walk away from it all. The next step was inevitable: confrontation. I knew I couldn't keep hiding behind cameras and recordings forever. I had to face her, lay everything out on the table, and see what she'd say. Honestly, I wasn't sure if I wanted her to lie again or just admit everything outright, but I knew I had to be ready for either. The morning I decided to do it, I felt sick to my stomach, like I was about to tear apart whatever fragile illusion of our marriage still remained. She was in the kitchen, acting busy, trying to pretend everything was normal. I stood there for a moment trying to breathe, gathering my courage. Then I said, "Laura, we need to talk. It's about Ethan, about the research, about what I saw." Her face instantly hardened and she spun around, eyes narrowing. "What are you talking about?" "You're crazy," she shot back, but I had the evidence. My phone was ready and I was going to show her. I pulled out the footage, pressing play. Her face paled as she watched herself in those videos, touching Ethan, kissing him, laughing like they had no worries. Her face twisted into a mask of fury and rage. "You've been stalking me," she hissed. "You've been spying on me, you're a damn psycho." But I didn't flinch. I just kept the footage rolling, letting her see what she'd done, what she'd been hiding. She started crying, fake, manipulative tears, I knew that much. She tried to deny everything, claiming she was just helping Ethan with some research project, that it was all innocent, that I was making a huge deal out of nothing. She said she loved me, that I was just insecure and jealous. But I wasn't falling for her bullshit. I told her I'd had enough, that I knew she'd been lying and sneaking around behind my back. I said I didn't trust her anymore, that I'd be leaving soon. Her reaction was classic. She started yelling, calling me controlling, possessive, jealous. Again, trying to turn it around, make me doubt myself. She accused me of ruining everything, of just being angry because I couldn't handle her being independent. I felt my blood boil. I told her I was done, that she could keep her lies and her manipulations, but I wasn't going to be her fool anymore. I packed a bag that day, ready to leave, feeling like my entire world had collapsed. I knew I couldn't stay with someone who'd betrayed me this deeply, who'd lied so convincingly, who'd been screwing around with Ethan right under my nose. That realization hurt worse than anything, knowing I'd been so blind, so trusting, until it was all too late. After I packed my things and left that morning, it felt like I was walking out of my own life. The house I once thought was our future now felt like a prison I was finally escaping from. I drove away with a pounding heart, not knowing exactly where I was headed, just knowing I couldn't stay and pretend everything was okay. The pain of betrayal was still fresh, but somehow, a strange sense of relief washed over me, like I'd finally cut loose the dead weight that was dragging me down. In the days that followed, I kept replaying everything. Her lies, the sneaking around, the way she'd twisted herself into a victim when she was the one cheating. It hurt like hell, but I knew I'd dodged a bullet. I realized how much I'd been blind, how much I'd let her manipulate me into thinking I was the crazy one. Now, I could finally see her for what she really was, a bitchy, manipulative woman who thought she could get away with anything because I was too trusting. But I also learned something important. No matter how much you love someone, betrayal changes everything. You can't unsee what you've seen, and once trust is broken, it's almost impossible to rebuild. I won't lie, the emotional scars are still there. Some nights I feel angry, some nights I feel empty. But mostly I feel like I've taken back some control, like I'm finally free from her lies and her manipulation. I've learned that honesty, trust, and respect are everything in a relationship. Without them, what's left is just a house of cards waiting to fall. If there's one thing I want to tell anyone reading this, it's this: don't ignore the signs. When someone shows you they're capable of lying and cheating, don't make excuses. Walk away before it's too late. Now I'm focusing on myself. I'm working on healing, on rebuilding my confidence. I don't know what the future holds, and honestly, I don't care right now. I just know I'm better off without her. The pain will fade, but the lesson will stay with me forever. Never ignore the truth, no matter how much you wish it wasn't real. Trust is everything, and once it's gone, so are the people who betrayed it. I hope anyone going through something similar finds the strength to face it head on, and that they remember, above all, they deserve honesty and respect, not lies and betrayal.